Okay, so today we're going to try out a question from the PSLE 2022. This actually is from Booklet A, question number 11. Now, at first glance, we look at this question, it looks like a non-routine kind of question. This is actually from this topic called adaptation. It is how plants have certain adaptations in order to survive at certain temperatures. So now when we look at this question, the first thing we do when we look at an MCQ question is to identify what the question is asking. What conclusion can John make from his study? Now, typically, conclusions from experiments, they are relationship based. So now we're going to go through the next part of the question. We're going to analyze the question a little bit more. So when we analyze, let's look at the different diagrams that are given. Let's look at the data given. And when I look at this mountain, I see that there is snow right there at the top, but there is no snow at the bottom. So this tells me the top is actually much colder than at the bottom. So we look at this, we look at the trees that are growing right up here. So leaves of plant ABC grow in a colder place, whereas the leaves of plant DEF, I'm sure it's cold, but it is not as cold. And then let's look at what information is given to us. Surface area tells us basically the size of the leaves. And if I were to look at the size of the leaves, the average size of all these leaves, they do not differ by much. They're pretty much the same. But however, what changes is when I look at this, the thickness of this has changed quite a bit. You see, 46 versus 27, 45 versus 14. So if I look at the average thickness of the leaves growing lower down the mountain and I compare them with the average thickness of the leaves growing higher than the mountain, I notice that these leaves are actually thicker and this is less thick. So now let's look at option number 1. Option number says at 600 meters, the plant have larger leaves. I know this is not true. The surface area of the leaves, both of them are pretty much the same. So here comes our method of elimination, which is step 3 in answering our MCQ questions. So I know it is not option number 1. Let's look at option number 2. Option number 2 says at 3000 meters, the plants have waxy leaves. Now look at this word waxy leaves. Is there any information in the question that tells us that the plants have waxy? There isn't, right? So it could be a possible one. Let's put a question mark there. So let's look at number 3. At 3000 meters, the plant have thicker leaves to adapt to the cold. Yep, that is true, right? When we learned the topic of adaptations, we learned that that is one of the ways in which plants adapt to extreme temperatures. And finally, the height at which the plants grow does not affect the size. It does not affect the size, that is true, but it does affect the thickness. So I know option number 4 is out, right? And I looked through over and over again and I realized I don't really have information on whether the leaves are waxy or not. Now, waxy leaves are typically a characteristic when a plant is trying to prevent water loss. So in this case, it's not about water loss, but rather it's about adapting to cold temperatures. Water loss is an issue when the temperatures are very hot. So I know that option number 2 is not my option. So based on that, after I've done the method of elimination, I know my correct answer is option number 3. This is how we use the 3 steps. Number 1, finding out what the question is asking. Number 2, analyzing the information in questions. And number 3, applying the method of elimination to arrive at our answers. See you at the next video.